The African sun beat down on the savannah, casting long shadows across the golden grasslands. The heat was relentless, shimmering waves rising from the ground, distorting the horizon. Birds sang, their melodies weaving through the air, oblivious to the metal birds screaming through the sky above. The harmony of nature was momentarily disrupted by the roar of engines. Inside, the Harmony High Choir, buzzing with excitement for their cultural exchange concert, were abruptly silenced. The students, dressed in their uniforms, had been chatting animatedly about the upcoming performance, their voices a blend of nervousness and anticipation.
A jarring bang, a gut-wrenching lurch, and screams filled the cabin. The overhead compartments rattled and the seatbelt signs flashed urgently. The once lively atmosphere turned to chaos in an instant. Smoke filled the air as the plane, trailing fire, began its terrifying descent. The acrid smell of burning fuel mixed with the scent of fear. Flames licked at the windows, casting an eerie glow inside the cabin.
Panic seized them. Instruments clattered to the floor, their polished surfaces now marred by the chaos. Students clung to their seats, eyes wide with terror. Sheet music scattered like frightened birds, pages fluttering through the air, each note a silent scream. Mr. Henderson, their portly choirmaster, fumbled for the emergency procedures, his face ashen. His hands shook as he tried to recall the safety instructions he had read so many times before. The world outside the window became a blur of brown and green, the once serene landscape now a dizzying whirl of colors. Trees and grasslands merged into a single, indistinguishable mass. Then, with a deafening crunch, everything went black. The impact was sudden and brutal, silencing the screams and the chaos. The savannah, once peaceful, now bore witness to a tragedy. Groaning, Emily, the lead soprano, pried her eyes open. Dust motes danced in the sliver of sunlight cutting through the wreckage. Disoriented, she saw mangled seats, scattered luggage, and the terrified faces of her fellow choir members. The smell of aviation fuel and dust filled her nostrils.
"Mr. Henderson?" she called out, her voice trembling. A chorus of coughs and groans answered her. No serious injuries, thankfully. But panic was setting in. They were stranded, injured, and alone in a foreign land. Despair hung heavy in the air, thick and suffocating like the dust that coated everything.
A shadow fell across the wreckage. A young woman, clad in vibrant blue robes, stood silhouetted against the harsh sun. Her skin, the color of rich earth, glowed with a warmth that belied the fear gripping the choir students. Her eyes, dark and knowing, held a calmness that was both disarming and reassuring. She spoke in a language they didn't understand, yet her tone was soothing. Gently she gestured towards the injured, her touch light as a feather as she assessed their wounds. Hope, like a fragile seedling, began to sprout in the hearts of the stranded students. Help had arrived. The young woman, whose name they later learned was Abini, led them on a short trek to her village. Her presence was calming, and her knowledge of the land was evident in every step she took. The group followed her, feeling a sense of trust and curiosity about what lay ahead. The sun beat down, but Abini moved with an effortless grace, her bare feet seemingly untouched by the rough terrain. It was as if she had a deep connection with the earth beneath her, each step purposeful and sure. The harsh environment seemed to bow to her presence, making the journey feel less daunting for those who followed. She led them to a clearing where a cluster of mud huts stood bathed in the golden light. The village seemed to emerge from the desert itself, a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of its inhabitants. The huts, though simple, exuded a warmth and charm that made the travelers feel instantly at home. Abini's hut was a sanctuary of earthy scents. The moment they stepped inside, they were enveloped by the rich, natural aromas that spoke of healing and comfort. The decor was simple yet inviting, with every element carefully chosen to create a space of peace and tranquility. Dried herbs hung from the ceiling, their fragrance filling the air. Each bundle of herbs had a purpose, a story of its own, and Abini knew them all. She explained the uses of each herb, sharing her knowledge generously with her guests, who listened with rapt attention. She worked swiftly, her hands moving with practiced ease as she crushed leaves and mixed them with water from a clay pot. Her movements were almost hypnotic, a dance of precision and care. The mixture she created was more than just a remedy. It was a blend of tradition, wisdom, and the natural world's bounty. Her touch, though firm, was gentle as she tended to their wounds, her brow furrowed in concentration. Each action was deliberate, each gesture filled with compassion. Abini's healing was not just physical, it was a holistic approach that nurtured the body and soul, leaving her patients feeling cared for and rejuvenated.
Section 5, Ancient Remedies, Modern Wounds.
Michael, the star quarterback and a skeptic by nature, watched Abini with a mixture of fascination and apprehension. He had always relied on modern medicine, the sterile environment of hospitals, and the precision of surgical tools. The idea of using ancient remedies seemed almost archaic to him, a relic of a bygone era. Yet, here he was, in a small, dimly lit room filled with the scent of herbs and the soft glow of candlelight, entrusting his injury to Abini's care. He winced as she cleaned his gashed arm with the herbal concoction. The mixture was a blend of crushed leaves, roots, and flowers, each chosen for its unique healing properties. The initial sting was sharp, a reminder of the wound's severity. But as the herbs began to work their magic, a soothing sensation spread through his arm. It stung, but not as much as he expected. The pain, which had been a constant, throbbing presence, began to ebb away, replaced by a gentle warmth. Michael's skepticism started to waver, replaced by a growing curiosity about these ancient practices. He watched, mesmerized, as she applied a poultice of crushed leaves, her touch surprisingly gentle. Each movement was deliberate, almost ritualistic, as if she was channeling the wisdom of generations past. The poultice, a thick, green paste, was cool against his skin, and he could feel it drawing out the heat and inflammation from the wound.
What is that stuff?
He asked, his voice hoarse. The question hung in the air, a bridge between two worlds, the modern and the ancient. Abini smiled, a radiant flash of white teeth against her dark skin. Her eyes sparkled with a knowledge that seemed to transcend time, a deep understanding of the natural world and its hidden powers. She pointed to the plants hanging from the ceiling, then to his arm, and finally to her heart. Each gesture was filled with meaning, a silent explanation of the connection between nature, the body, and the spirit. Her meaning was clear: nature's medicine, healing from the inside out. It was a philosophy that embraced the whole person, not just the symptoms of the ailment. Michael felt a newfound respect for these ancient remedies, realizing that they held a wisdom that modern science was only beginning to understand. As he sat there, feeling the healing power of the poultice, he couldn't help but wonder what other secrets nature held, waiting to be discovered. Section 6. Music and Medicine. As days turned into nights, the choir students settled into a routine. Abini, with the help of the other villagers, tended to their injuries and provided them with food and shelter. In return, the students, eager to show their gratitude, began to share their music.
The African night throbbed with the sound of drums and the harmonies of the choir.
The villagers, their faces lit by the flickering firelight, swayed to the unfamiliar melodies. Music, the universal language, transcended the barriers of language and culture, forging a bond between the stranded students and their rescuers.
Section 7. Whispers of Doubt. One day, Emily overheard a conversation between two villagers. Their tone was anxious, their words laced with worry. Abini's supplies were dwindling, and the nearest town was a long and arduous journey away. Doubt, like a venomous snake, began to coil in Emily's heart.
That night, Emily's nightmares were haunted by images of her friends, their injuries festering, their hope fading. She woke up in a cold sweat, her heart pounding. She had to do something. They couldn't just sit here and wait for fate to decide their destiny.
Section 8. A Song of Healing. The next day, Emily gathered the choir. Their faces, once bright with hope, were now etched with worry. She shared her fears, her voice trembling with emotion. But she also shared her idea. They would hold a concert of gratitude for the village, a concert to raise awareness of their plight.
The concert was a resounding success. The villagers, moved by the students' heartfelt performance, rallied together. Word was sent to the nearest town, and within days, help arrived.
As the rescue plane touched down, Emily looked at Abini, her eyes filled with gratitude.
Section 9. Farewell, sister. Leaving the village was bittersweet. They had arrived as strangers, injured and afraid. They left as friends, healed in body and spirit. As Emily hugged Abini goodbye, she noticed a small, intricately carved wooden bird in Abini's hand.
For you, Abaney said, pressing the bird into Emily's hand, a reminder of the song that healed.
Emily smiled, her heart full. The bird, a symbol of hope and resilience, would forever remind her of the desert nurse who had taught her the true meaning of healing.